Good evening, and welcome to The Parent Impact. I'm your host, Tafshier Cosby, and this is presented in partnership with the National Parent Union. Thank you for joining us tonight, Tuesday, March 16th. You could have been anywhere surfing the net, but you're here with us, and we appreciate you coming by to hear tonight's conversation. So, as usual, I'm going to do some updates from New Jersey and also from the city of Newark directly, because that's where I live and that's my community. So, for New Jersey, our update today is that New Jersey lawmakers will start beginning a debate, a bill tomorrow to give residents more power to investigate local police officers. So, Bill A 4656 allows towns to create civilian complaint review boards. Now, I know everyone in Newark is actually familiar with this. This is something that we've actually had in Newark for a few years now. There has been a lot of pushback about the Civilian Complaint Review Board, about the power that they actually have to investigate officers who are currently working as police officers. But this bill is important because this bill not only creates for the city of Newark, it creates the power for the civilians in the city of Newark, but this was stretched across the entire state of New Jersey. So any town that wanted to create this civilian complaint review board to make sure that they are essentially policing the police, right, in the things that they're doing. This is going to go through the assembly. So it's going to be the first reading in the assembly. And then it's going to move through, hopefully, it'll move through the next two readings and then go to the full Senate and Assembly for reading. So they're actually going to vote on this tomorrow, 9:15. You can go to New Jersey Ledge to actually watch it. It's going to be virtual. You can watch this decision being made. So I'm excited for this because I think it gives the power back to the community, right? It gives the community an opportunity to have a say when we do have police officers who are behaving badly, right? And we're not saying that all police officers behave badly, but there have been incidences, in our cities and our towns where we do have police officers who are not doing the right thing by communities, and making sure that you have that community voice in that conversation is really important. So look out for that bill. We'll follow up with that bill next week. And for Newark, COVID vaccines are being given to families in homeless shelters. So they're making sure that the families who are in homeless shelters are being covered. So they are not catching COVID-19. They are part of the list of people in New Jersey. The list has been expanded to include teachers and firefighters and bus drivers. And that's also including some of our homeless population, which we actually call neighbors without addresses. So those families are now being given vaccines for COVID. Also, Newark has created pop-up vaccination sites for school employees ahead of the April reopening. So the Newark Public School Board, Newark Public Schools is actually slated to reopen in April, as well as some of the charter schools. They're going to open up in hybrid. So they are doing pop-up vaccinations for the teachers to be able to come in, get their vaccinations, and then get back into the classroom when the school opens up. And again, about vaccines, my take is this: it's the family who decides what's best for their family, right? We shouldn't be out here shaming people for whichever way they choose, right? If you decide for your family the vaccines is something that you want to have, or if you decide that's something that you don't want to have, it is your choice. As a family, as a parent, you can decide what you need to do with vaccines for your family. So there are pop-up vaccination sites for our teachers to be able to get vaccinated, the ones that are going to be getting vaccinated. And then lastly, in Newark, the New Jersey Department of Education denied the charter school expansion request. And they also put two schools on probation. There has been a lot of conversation surrounding charter expansion in the city. In Newark, we have one of the largest charter sectors. We have lots of charter schools here. We have about 35% of the student population of families who are enrolled in charters. And the Department of Education denied the expansion moving forward. So if you want to read more about that, that's actually on Chalkbeat. You can read more about the details on that. So that's what's happening in Newark and New Jersey. I have some really great guests who are going to be on with me. We're going to talk a little bit about a program, which is tonight's topic, a program to be able to help struggling readers. I know for my family, my youngest son was a struggling reader. He did not like to read. A lot of it was comprehension for him, but he did not like to read. So I'm excited for this program that we're going to talk about. I'm excited for what this brings for families across the nation and ways that they can be helpful and help their struggling readers in their family. So let me introduce Sabine McAlpine. Okay, let me get your title. Let me get your title. I got to swing paper over before I get you on. So Sabine is the strategic director at Thorndike Press for the Striving Reader program. So welcome, Sabine. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Yeah, hi, thank you, Tafshier. I'm really excited. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to be here and share with everyone my story, my personal story with my daughter. You mentioned your son, so I have that same type of personal story with my daughter who really struggled academically and with reading, and also share on a professional side of things a resource that I'm very familiar with that's really making a big difference and is a game changer for youth and students across the nation.
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk about it. And we also have a special guest tonight here on the Parent Impact. We have Marisol. Let me get your name right, Marisol. Marisol Quevedo Rerucha. I hope I got that right, Marisol. Who
You
is
absolutely did.
who's the chief of strategy and partnerships for the National Parents Union. So welcome, ladies, to tonight's Parent Impact Show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. It's going to be such a great show. So we like to ask our guests at the beginning, right? How are they and how have you been in this COVID-19 environment? We are a year out, right? Officially, it's been a year. We've all been in our houses. So let's first start with Sabine. How are you doing? How are you and your family doing in this COVID environment?
Well, thanks for asking. I'm very blessed that my family, my immediate family and extended family, are all doing well. We're very healthy. I'm super happy that vaccines are out there. There seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what I'm looking forward to. So, overall, we're doing okay. And to be honest, I'm a little anxious to get back to some sense of norm. I'm sure, like so many out there are.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. How are you, Marisol?
I keep hitting the pandemic wall. Like that wall is real. I think I hit it like hard, face first.
Yeah.
I don't know how many months, years it's been now. But it's just so every day is about choices, about like making the choice to go outside and get fresh air and making the choice to move my body, even if it's just like getting up from this chair. Because in the beginning of the pandemic there was so much understanding, like there was really like the kids really weren't in school, so it was really like free time because people didn't know, right, in the
Right.
beginning. And there was just a lot of I just feel like just understanding, I'll just use that word. But now, like, we have just ramped up and have created this new normal that is very fast paced, that is very that it's just a lot. It's just a lot. But what I'm really really grateful for is that nobody in my family, in my immediate family, has gotten sick. And I'm
Yes.
really grateful for the time that I have been able to have with my loved ones. And I'm realizing like who those people are. That analogy of like, if you were on the island, or if you were in a sinking ship, who would you want with you? I know who those people are.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm also grateful for the same thing, being able to spend more time with my family. I do work more now, though, actually being home, right? I have to like stop myself and really do that self-care of where I'm not working, 15, 16 hours stuck in this room, not eating, just working, working, working. So I have had to temper myself with working over the last year. But I also have not had anyone immediate in my family who has been sick, thank God. So I'm definitely grateful for that as well, for sure. So let's get into it, ladies. So a little bit about can you tell us a little bit about the Striving Reader program? We're going to talk a little bit more about it later, but if you can give us a quick summary, and then we'll talk about challenges within our own families, right? I talked a little bit about my son and his challenge, we'll talk a little bit about challenges with our own families with struggling readers.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as many may or may not be aware, we have about 2/3 of our fourth and eighth graders across the nation that aren't reading at grade level. And as a organization, we recognize that we had an opportunity to really share a resource that could make a difference. The Striving Reader program is it's a pretty simplistic resource and format that's making a difference. We take really high interest, diverse, popular titles. So most parents are familiar, like with the Wimpy Kids, for example. We take them, we make them look the same, so there's no stigma associated with them. They're the same size, same covers, and we put them into a larger format, a larger font size, and we increase the white space. And what that does is it makes it so it's an more welcoming, less overwhelming to students right out the gate. So if you're someone out there that has a child that's just intimidated by reading or reluctant reader that struggles with reading, this is a format that when they open that book the first time, they're going to be like, okay, this isn't so bad, and they're going to be willing to take it on. And then what happens when they actually go to read it, they're becoming much more comfortable with it, right? They have less tracking issues, less decoding issues, and they're able to spend their energy on comprehension. So we're really finding that it's making that difference. It's helping build confidence, and it's empowering students, and it's empowering them to overcome some of their biggest challenges.
Yeah. And I know, a program like this definitely would have been helpful to my son when he was in the K-12 system. A lot of his struggles were comprehension, but it was also with so many words, on a page, and then not being able to understand what the definition of some of the words were. But I know this definitely would have been helpful to my son in his K-12 journey for sure. So how did you get involved in this, right? Your story for your family, you had a struggling reader, right? In your family, you had a child with challenges. And is that how you kind of like moved into this space?
I
Like, how
would
did
say
you move
it's
into this space?
Yeah, I would say it was the passion that drives me into this space, I guess is the best way to describe it. But I do. I have three wonderful, beautiful, amazing adult daughters now. My youngest absolutely had some challenges academically. We knew it from the onset. I just knew she was struggling since she really in pre-K. But it wasn't until upper elementary school that we had her tested. We found out that she had two learning disabilities, a memory and a processing LD, and an ADD diagnosis. Once we got there, it's like, as mom, it's like this momentary relief, right? Like, oh, okay, now I know something's going on. But then that quickly goes away, because then you're like, okay, I still don't know what to do to help her. I don't know what resources and tools to give to her, to make it so it's easier for her and that she can find success. I will let you know, it was a journey, and it was a constant journey right up till the day she graduated, of starting with having conversations and strongly advocating for her in school. I had to find confidence in myself, which I, to be honest, didn't always have. I had to keep my voice strong. I had a consultant that I worked with one time say to me, said, Sabin, don't you be intimidated. Don't you be intimidated by the conversations that you're having. You are her advocate, and you're her only sole advocate. So throughout the process, we started on a 504, later led to an IEP in junior high school. And one of the things that we did was talked about resources and tools, and that's when we introduced large print to her. Not because the educators or the school district knew, because they didn't and they weren't aware of it. What still so many aren't, but because I knew about it, because I worked for a company that published it and had found some initial findings that it would help struggling readers. So what we did is we introduced it to her, and a lot of many other things. She had fantastic educators. We had a great support group. I think a lot of times people thought that, you know, Danielle didn't necessarily need all the support because she came from a strong home. I mean, her parents, we were married at the time, mom and dad were at home. I was getting her private tutoring. They didn't necessarily see her as a student that needed the extra support. And even kind of with those things stacked up against her, she really persevered, that kiddo. I mean, I'm just so proud of her, because with those resources and tools that we were able to offer to her, she not only graduated high school and she took college prep classes through high school and she was successful. on her own, she applied for college. And she's my child that I had a teacher tell me in 4th grade that I needed to prepare myself. She wasn't college bound. And
Wow.
as mom, I'm not going to lie. At that point, I was just like, okay, because I didn't know how to react to that. Now I'm like you probably get a different reaction from me now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
but,
Absolutely.
but, you know, she applied to a farrier school. It was her passion. She took it all on her own. She even paid the application fee on her own. She traveled 1,000 miles away, went to school. She graduated even through this pandemic, which is tough for students, no matter where they are. And she came back and she's running her own business now. So as a farrier, and she's working full time. So, you know, that's my story. That's what drives me. That's my passion is to help kids like my daughter Danielle, because my story is not unique. You know, when I'm out talking, I travel all over the nation pre-pandemic. I talk to all kinds of teachers and parents and such. My story is not any different. We all have slightly different paths, but it's all the same. So it's my
Absolutely.
passion to help all students. It's my passion to help all kids like my daughter Danielle to find that confidence in themselves, because I know it's a game changer. And I know that giving them that confidence in reading is a piece and part of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we also know, right, when we're thinking about the level and the grade where children actually start to read, we think a lot about that point before they talk about the school to prison pipeline, right? We know that by the 4th grade, right, a lot of schools, they look at the kids' scores, that they can't read a certain level by the 4th grade, then they put them in that category, right? So, you know, for parents out there who may be having this struggle where their kids may be in the 4th grade or 3rd grade, this is an innovation for you, right? This is an opportunity for you to find something that would be able to help your child to be able to read so they're not placed in that category for school to prison pipeline. And like you said, they can make choices for their lives as they get older and they become more confident, right? They become more confident as readers. They become more confident as children. You know, this spreads out not only just for them reading, but it may help their math scores. It may help them comprehend. You know, it's. I mean, thinking about what this gives to children when they have the confidence to read those words on the page, right, and feel comfortable reading them. It just goes throughout their entire lives, truly. And I know, like I said, I know this would have been amazing for my son because he did have that challenge of not wanting to read out loud, right? When the teacher called on him in class because he wasn't comprehending the words and the words were really small. He already wore glasses. So he's like, I already wear glasses. Like I can't do much more to be able to see these words. But he didn't have that confidence that he needed to be able to feel open in English class, right? And just reading the books. And he also didn't read when he came home, and a lot of, if you think about what happens in college, right? And I was trying to prepare him for when he went to college. In college, there's a lot of book reading. There's a lot, because we have to read a lot of books. And because he wasn't comfortable and because he didn't have the joy of reading books, he struggled even in his first year of college because of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And I
love that
know,
you said, and I love that you said it's that joy of reading, because I think sometimes that gets forgotten. We get so
yeah,
focused on trying to make sure our kids have the test scores or the reading skills needed to show that they're academically successful, that we forget that if we can just help them find some joy in the reading
yeah.
experience, that can help them and will transition to academic performance. So I agree with you completely when you talk about that with your son.
Yeah, absolutely. Marisol, would you like to share your experience?
Yeah, so one of my daughters was struggling a lot with reading. She's 27 now. And I was an English teacher, but one of the things, and I was a middle high school English teacher, but we didn't learn how to teach reading at that level. In secondary, you're really teaching like the thinking, the discussion, the writing. And so we were able to pay for additional outside services for her, which did phenomenally well. But I know, just like what you're talking about, Tafshier, I know that she would have benefited. And I think that there's something within it. What I was thinking of is, aside from the joy of reading, is the comfort of reading.
Yes.
And I know as I've gotten older, and as I, like right now, I took my glasses off because my eyes are just tired and everything looks a little looks a little fuzzy. I used to have perfect vision. But like that feeling of when I, like I have my glasses and it's clear, that comfort. And my
Yeah.
comadre yesterday, she sent me this thing that like these women's necklaces that have a monocle. They
Oh
have a
no.
monocle on them.
Monocle.
And they're like this fashion statement, but it is legit a monocle to see. And I was like, but that's the comfort. Like that's comfort
Yeah.
of being able to see something, like I've gotten to the point where if I'm reading the directions of something, I have to take it to the light. And I'm also, yes, I'm super farsighted. And then I also, but the glasses, it's like, oh, and so what I have found,
Yes.
my nephew, who is in the process of being adopted, he's a foster youth, is very far behind. He has an IEP. He has so he's now he's up to like he's gotten all of his sight words, and giving him access to the large print, that it made reading accessible to him. So
Mm-hmm.
getting a chapter book that that was in way above his level, okay, way above, but the access. So I think there's a piece there that has to do with the comfort also
Yes.
of really being able to see easily what it is that you're reading. And on the opposite end of that, I do want to mention, like I also have my daughter right now, Sophia, is 15. She's a sophomore in high school, and she is super she's like the super student, almost straight A's, very dedicated. She's that kid who she had an application due for a program she wanted to do over the summer. And she was like, I'm working on this last minute. I need da 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 da. And I was like, okay, when is it due? And it wasn't due, it was due for 2 weeks.
Oh wow.
So like legit. Like I was like, no, boo. Like last minute means that it's due in an hour.
Right. Like by midnight, and it's like 10 o'clock.
Yeah, so she's just a different type of kid. She's just a different type of learner. Also, but she also has loved the large print. And my girl is a reader. Like she's like I'll find her in my bookshelf taking things. And if I'm looking for books, I go to her room.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll
Mm-hmm.
find her at any point of the day, sometimes read, like she's a voracious reader. She loved the large print. That's when I knew something was different.
Right.
Like
right.
and again, I think it has to do with the comfort, but also that accessibility.
Yes.
There was something for her, and she didn't feel any stigma. Like she was like,
Right.
oh, this is
Right.
cool. Like how many more books? She really wanted The Color Purple. And it
Oh.
wasn't on the list because we had finally watched the movie together, and she fell in love.
Okay.
And so she got The Color Purple, but she really wanted it in large print. When I was like, oh, let's look at the list, she was so super excited. But I think that speaks a lot to the opportunity that we can give our kids through this tool, through this resource.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In ways that parents can now build this library, right, for their kids, and start at an early age, right? Because Saban, what grade does this a striving reader program start? Like what is the grade band for this program?
Yeah, so we range from grades 3 up through grades 12. So the titles that I would say that the lowest level would be like Wimpy Kids, I Survived series, Kate DiCamillo. Those are our lower end titles. We don't typically go below that because if you look at them, they're already in a bigger print, right? They're already larger print. They already have some white space. So we're really trying to catch those kids that are transitioning from learning to read to reading to learn. So when they're moving to more of a chapter book and there's more text on the page and there's not as many images to help cue them, what we're doing is we're looking to catch those kids and keep them engaged, keep them wanting to read. And what Marisol is so shared, it's so true. When you talk about comfort, that's exactly what we see, whether it's the struggling reader who takes it home, and I've heard these stories, takes it home for their first time, a book, the librarian at the school gave them the book and said, just try it for me, tell me what you think, and comes back and is so excited because you know why? It's the first time he's ever read that many pages or gotten through, a whole chapter. So that excitement, I don't know if you can put a word to that. I don't know if you can put a value to that, right? And then, like her daughter, we have AP students that said the funniest thing. It makes our brain feel calmer when we read large print. So it's a format that has a wide range that it can support and help out.
I love that. I love that. I love that it's not just for the struggling student, right? I mean, it is innovation for a struggling student, but it's for all students, right? It's for all the kids to be able to, if they're already reading well, like you said, it gives them a comfort, and they're like, "This is awesome."
Well,
And I love the fact that they can find, I even struggle with that myself, right? If I don't have a bookmark, I don't know what page I'm on, or when I'm reading, right, I have to kind of like use my finger to figure out if
yeah.
I'm reading at night, I'll read half the page, but then the next day I have to start at the beginning again because I don't know where I stopped. And I love that with the large print, it's easier for the kids to actually remember where they stopped and then to just pick up from that point and be able to continue to read that page.
Yeah, it's absolutely the coolest thing. Like we have a video, it's on our website, but it was a young seventh grade girl and she's identified as a struggling reader. And it was amazing to watch her when she read regular print. She would have her nose right to the page. She had to use her finger. She was kind of squinting. And then the first time she was given large print, it was the best thing. I
Love
actually think I did cry because it reminded me of my daughter, but it had like a little emotional connection, but she kind of relaxed. She didn't have to use her finger anymore at all to track. She was able
I
to
love
track
that.
easily. She was visibly, you could hear that she was more fluent. And then when you asked her at the end what she thought of it and she had a preference, she said that. She was like, I really like the large print. I would rather have everything in large print. It was just easier for me to read. I just remember more. So, it's just one of those things that regardless like of ability, like you were talking about, even the kids that excel, they're
Mhm.
struggling with screen fatigue in today's age. I mean, my goodness
Yes,
gracious,
yeah.
they were spending 4 to 6 hours on a device before. I can only imagine if I did a study, and there probably is one out there, what they're spending on a device now. So whether it's screen fatigue and they're just exhausted, or they truly struggle and have some challenges that inhibit them from being able to comprehend, it's just been one of those things that it's worked wonderful for them and been successful.
Yes, and I love that. So we have some key findings, right? You did a nationwide study. So some of the key findings that I thought were interesting: 43% of 3 to 12 grade graders report a reduction in feeling anxiety about reading, which is amazing, right? Because that's something that kids is really, really amplified right now. In COVID, the feeling of anxiety, and then nearly 60% of 6 to 8 grade graders said that they could focus better and didn't lose their place due to distractions when reading large print, right? We talked about that. And then in middle school, the increase in the Lexile reading levels was 2 to 3 times the average for recommended growth. I mean, that speaks volumes right there. Thinking about the levels that the kids are now moving up because of this print. So that's just some of the impact that we're finding from the study. But what further impacts do you see this having this program having for families?
Yeah, so something that wasn't mentioned, and you'd have to dive deep into the 35-page research document, but I always like to mention is it's also when you give this to a child that's reading, say that they're reading at a third or high third grade level, and maybe they're in fifth grade, it's been proven that you can give them a large print book that's at a fifth grade level or maybe a little higher, and they can understand it and they score around 75% or so on average on their test scores, on their comprehension tests. So that's something else I like to mention because it's one of those things that even if they're reading below grade level, try a large print book and see how they do. Let them challenge themselves. Let them self-select. Give them the opportunity to find something that they might enjoy. But when you talk about outcome, what we're looking to do is we're really looking to give that gift of literacy. That's what I say. My goal is to give opportunities to students across the nation. Um, this is a wonderful format. This is a wonderful resource for parents, not only to build their home libraries, because you can do that. You can build a home library. You want to flood your children with books as much as you can, because that puts them in the best position for success. Bring them to their public library, make sure you're getting them to taking out books from the school library, get them very involved that way. But this is also something that we're really looking for ways to help parents advocate for their students too. I know that at National Parents Union and Parent Impact, that's something that you all do wonderfully, and I love that about your organizations. I wish I knew. You talk about you wish you knew about large print. I wish I knew about you all, because I could have used you when my girl was younger. But you know, this is just something that is a wonderful opportunity for parents to say, "Hey, This infographic you're talking about, I'm going to print it off or I'm going to email it and I'm going to take it into my teacher. I'm going to go to my public library. I'm going to go and talk to my principal. I'm going to go talk to my school librarian, and I'm going to ask them, hey, have you heard about this? Is this something we could consider, and get a few books? Just try it out for my child. That's when we look at like what we're trying to do and the impact that we can make, that's what we're looking to do, is just to help these children feel confident about themselves and help them build those reading skills so that they can be successful. So we can disrupt some of the things that are happening, like when you talk the prison pipeline, like we can disrupt that, and we can give them those children those opportunities. And what we had talked about, I know we've chatted about equity, it's about giving them those opportunities and access.
Absolutely. And empowering, like you said, empowering parents, right, to not only be able to help, building your home library helps your child, but bringing it to a school where you can help all the kids in the building, now be able to have these books, to feel better about reading, to feel better about themselves, and reduce their anxiety. That's something that we're going to need for years to come, especially with reduction in anxiety with what's happening with COVID. So I love this program. I want to I don't have, my grandkids aren't in 3rd grade yet, but when they are, I will make sure that they start off reading with these large print books, because I want to make sure that they have every opportunity to be great readers and to develop that love of reading and that love of learning in their life for sure. So here's how you can contact Sabin. This is her email address. Reach out to her families, start to build your library, find ways where you can order some of these books for your school libraries. The schools are going to be opening up again, right? The schools are going to be reopening soon. So why not take this opportunity to refresh the library at school, right? Using this innovation with the large print books to be able to help the students in the school for sure. So please reach out to her. This is the website for the company, Thorndike Press. Please check them out. They have a link there for parents, lots of great information, lots of things to read there. I'm waiting for my book to come that I actually requested. So one of my favorite books, even from childhood, is A Wrinkle in Time. So I'm looking forward to reading it in the large print. I do have these glasses on, but I still can't see sometimes even with these glasses. So I'm looking forward to just experiencing this myself, even as a older person. I'm looking forward to experiencing this. So please, parents, make sure that you're reaching out and you're getting this innovation for your children for sure, because it's important, and I love it. I think when I first heard about it, right, when you first reached out to us and we had that conversation, and I was just excited from that, and I'm so excited to bring this to the audience and make sure that parents know this information so they can continue to advocate not only for their children, for all the children in the community. So last question. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to add, I think that, we are absolutely like about parent advocacy. And so, yes, there are some funds that schools receive that can only be spent on books. And so I think having this information and advocating for, like, we want this in our schools, we want this in our libraries, and also for those whose children have IEPs, this is a resource that you can request and ask for. And it doesn't have to be because they have some kind of a visual impairment, there are other resources, but it can be something that you can ask the school under the IEP to provide to your student, to your child. So I think that having the information is really, really important, having the experience with the books. And then really, like you're saying, Tafshier, like locking arms and going to the school systems and saying, hey, like, we want these books for our kids.
Yeah. I always say, like, don't lose your voice. Keep your voice strong. Like, it's easy. I'm a mom. I've been there. I know how tough it can be to navigate it all, but don't ever lose your voice. Remember that you're their advocate. You're your child's advocate, and anything you can do to help and support them is worth keeping that strong voice and being confident. So when you talk about being an advocate, I would just say, just keep going, don't give up, and like I said, don't lose that voice.
That's right. Absolutely. And if you haven't already, please join the National Parents Union. We are here for you. This is a support system, a nationwide support system, authentic parents experiences, right? We're talking now about our authentic experiences as parents with our children, ones who struggle, ones who don't. We're here for each other. We're sharing information. We're sharing resources. Sabin is also one of our newest members of the National Parents Union.
Yay! I'm excited.
We're excited to have her on as one of our members. So thank you so much, ladies. This was amazing, amazing, amazing. One last question before we end for the night. Um, I always like to ask my guests this question: what is your parent impact?
My parent impact, how I see it, is doing what I'm doing today and empowering parents however I can, empowering educators in every path and every way I can when I talk to them every day to advocate, advocate, find resources, look for tools. You know, that's my impact, is just to be there and out there and sharing my story and what we can do, and to change the path for not only because I know it can with my daughter, but change it for other children too.
Thank you so much, and thank you for
Thank
all that you're
you.
doing. Thank you so
Thank,
much,
thank
Marisol.
you.
I that's so personal to me because there's my work, right? But
Yeah.
what I know and that I feel is that I have to do the work at home. And so my impact for me, it has to do, my daughters are 27, 26 and 15. And the relationship that I have with them, and have it through the darkness, through the light, and now seeing my daughter Emilia as a mom, um, and I see who she is as a mom with her 3 kids. That for me is the parent impact, and like holding my grandchildren, um, and being the best version of myself
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah,
And being able to guide them on that journey as well, to me, like, because that when we do that work at home, then that makes the community better, which
it
then
does.
makes the community for all of us better. So it's so much for me, it's so personal, and it's so much bigger than just like the work that I show up to do every day.
You
Yeah.
got it. You got it. I love
Absolutely.
that. Love that.
Me too. Absolutely. Sabine, can we share your good news with our audience? Are you okay with us sharing your good news with our
Yes, we
audience?
can share my awesome. Yes, it's the best news ever. So I'm going to be a nana. I have my first grandson that's due in just a couple of weeks. So you want to talk about joy and happiness? That is like that brought me the most amount of joy in a year where we've been in a pandemic, and boy, there's been all kinds of challenges and stress around us. The best news I got was my daughter, my oldest daughter. She's 23. She's having a baby, and we're going to have this little guy in 2 weeks. And I'm already in love with him. I'm completely in love with him, and I can't wait. I can't wait to hold him for the first time. So thank you for letting me share that news, because
Oh,
that's
thank
so
you.
exciting to me.
That is so awesome.
This
Well,
is a
welcome.
grandma club right here. We are all
Welcome.
grandmas.
This is
That's
it.
right.
This is the club. This is
Yeah.
it.
I'm
Grandma of
loving
three
being
right
in
here.
it. I'm loving
So
being in it.
welcome to the club, and thank you for all the work that you're doing out
Thank you.
through Thorndike Press with the Striving Reader Program. Again, please contact Sabin. Set up your library, advocate for your schools, get these books in there, make sure that you are giving kids the opportunity to have a great start from the third grade with being able to be comfortable with books and feeling really comfortable and engaging in the love of learning for reading,
Got it.
for
Thank
sure. So
you.
please reach out. Thank you so much, ladies. This is
Thank
so
you,
good.
Tafshier.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night. Thank
You all
you.
too. Thank you so much.
Awesome. This was another great episode of The Parent Impact. I'm so excited to talk to these ladies and to really learn more about the Striving Reader program. Again, parents, get out there, advocate for this. This is something that you need in your schools, in your libraries. Even, again, this is not just for struggling readers, right? This is for all students. This program impacts all the students. It can help your student. It can help them to learn to love to read. It can help them with anxiety. It helps in so many ways. So please make sure that you are talking about this. You are connecting with Sabin. You are looking up the website to get information and resources for yourself. Again, if you have not joined, please join the National Parents Union. We are an authentic group of parents who are sharing our experiences. Here on the Parent Impact, we like to elevate parent voices, right? We're talking to all types of parents from across the country about things that they're doing in their schools, things that they're doing in their community, to advocate, to make sure that they're raising the consciousness of families across the country. There are lots of groups, right, that are happening across the country, which I am personally really excited about. I was talking yesterday with someone about the large number of parents that have now started to organize greater throughout their cities, throughout their states, and now here we are with the National Parents Union organizing nationally. It's important, right? It's important. We need more of us. We need more parents in these conversations. We need more parents advocating for their kids at their schools. Schools are about to open up. Get in those conversations, right? I say this every week. Make sure your voice is being heard in those conversations about school reopening. Show up for your board meetings. Show up. Make sure that you know what's going on. And if you decide to run for elected office, contact us. We have opportunities, we have trainings, we can help you with that process. Make sure that you're in there. Make sure that your voice is in these conversations. So join us at the National Parents Union. Also, you see my Every Family Votes sticker in the corner. You see my banner here. Every family votes, every election, every time. Right? We haven't stopped. This is not something that we just do for the presidential election. It is a conversation with your family. It is getting information. It is getting those resources, learning the process of voting in your state, actually casting that ballot, and doing it as a family, right? It's the power that you have as a family to have these conversations and making sure that you're casting that ballot. Elections are happening all over the place, right? We have elections here in April. In April, we have our Newark School Board election that happens in April. We have elections happening in May. We have primaries across the country in June. And also in New Jersey, all of our state officials are up for office this year. So that's going to be a huge, huge election. So we're also reminding families again, every family votes in every election, every time. Take back your power. If we learn nothing else from the presidential election, is that your vote matters. Anyone who tells you that your vote doesn't matter is lying to you. Your vote matters. Make sure you are doing this as a family. Make sure that every single person in your family is getting registered to vote. That can is getting registered to vote. You're being civically engaged, and you're also holding your elected officials accountable, right? That's also part of it. That's the next step after we actually go to the polls. It's holding your elected officials accountable to do the things that they said they were going to do. Also, speaking of policy, for the People Act, you can look it up at When We All Vote, the National Parents Union, in partnership with When We All Vote. There is a For the People Act that's happening. It's going to be the largest bill that has ever been about voting rights in our country, about being civically engaged. Check it out, get involved. There's going to be a community call that you can get on. Please, let's spread the word about this act. It is going to change the game for so many states when we're talking about voting. Specifically, the one of the pieces that I like, something I've been talking about for a while. In New Jersey, we have the opportunity to register to vote when we go to our motor vehicles location. This bill will work to make sure that across the country that's happening, right? When you go to get your driver's license, you automatically are registered to vote. When you go to register for your community college, you are automatically registered to vote, right? It changes that. It changes people having to now jump through hoops and go through this process just to make sure that they're registered to vote. So please make sure you are looking and getting more information. For the People Act, you will see us sharing information about this act. Call your lawmakers, talk about this, call your federal lawmakers. Please have the For the People Act passed. It's going to be so important for our communities and so important for our country to make sure that we have better processes for families to be able to vote and better ways where people can register to vote and stop the voter suppression that still continues to happen in our country even in 2021. So this has been great. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight, and we will see you next week. Have a great evening. Thank you.